All right, we'll return to the open meeting at this time. And our opening exercise this evening will be our pledge. Miss Holly Haynes.
Good evening. I am Holly Haynes, the proud principal of Pester Elementary, and I have with me Sloan Rhodes. Sloan is one of our students who just brings a little bit of sparkle with her wherever she goes. Sloan is a kindergarten student at Pester. Sloan has a little sister, Mara, who is at home because it's her bedtime, but she is a 3-year-old future Pester leper. When she grows up, Sloan wants to be a veterinarian because she likes taking care of her two dogs at home, Bella and Tux, and she said the puppy is extra mischievous. Sloan's favorite thing about Pester is going to the library because she likes to check out new books. She likes books about dinosaurs and birds. Also, every Tuesday, she gets to go to art, which is her favorite specials class. If she could change anything at Pester, she might change the soccer goals to be a little bit wider. She's a soccer player. All right, please stand for the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Great job. Thank you so much for that. Next up is our celebration of learning. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. You are in for a real treat tonight. We are going to highlight our Lovejoy Child Development Center, which is truly a gem here that we have in our district. You're going to hear from Cindy Daniels, our coordinator for the Lovejoy Child Development Center, Miss Erin Perkins, Director of Elementary Education and Early Childhood, and then I call them the Dream Team over there, our pre-K teachers. But we have a very special guest tonight. Mr. Holt Heath is here tonight too, so he is Holt, how brave he was to be here at the meeting tonight to help share about the innovation and the curiosity and the learning that's going on at the Child Development Center. So I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Perkins.
All right, good evening. We are so excited tonight to celebrate and highlight the learning that's going on in our 3- and 4-year-old pre-K classrooms. And like Dr. Tinsley said, we have our teachers here and a student to really celebrate and show off and highlight for you what they're doing in their classrooms. And we really want to bring your attention to 4 skills that they've really been intentionally fostering in their classrooms. And they are, and you can click to the next slide, they are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And these are skills that we are just really proud that they have spent and invested time in developing these skills, because these are skills they're going to take with them throughout the rest of their life and impact them greatly beyond their K-12 career. So we're going to let Miss Daniel, she's going to share with you our philosophy of learning in early childhood, and then we'll turn it over to our teachers to really highlight the engaging ways they're building these skills within their classrooms.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for having us. I'm going to read our philosophy of learning. We've kind of just revamped this a little bit, and so I'm going to read it because all of the words are very intentionally planned. So, at LCDC, we understand that children learn best in a nurturing, play-based environment that promotes hands-on exploration, curiosity, and a love of learning. Staff is intentional in building positive relationships, creating engaging and developmentally appropriate environments and activities, and fostering children's sense of self and others. LCDC partners with families to support healthy development of children's cognitive, social, emotional, and language skills needed for success in school and in life. We're setting them up for life, and we're building that strong foundation. We definitely do have the dream team here. This is our pre-K team. And so starting on the left-hand side there is Miss Porter and Miss Batty. They're our 3-year-old teachers. And then we have Miss Patino and Miss Clark, Miss Reed and Miss Jett, and Miss Peralta and Miss Biles. And they are the pre-K 4 teachers. And I'm gonna let them share some of the amazing things that go on every day in LCDC.
Hi, I'm Melanie Porter, and I teach the 3-year-old class. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about communication and how we use communication and learn communication in our classroom. As Ms. Daniel said, we learn through play, and I showed just a few pictures of us actively in play. It's a big part of our day, and through that learning through play, we are communicating pretty much all the time. We're learning to express ourselves. We're learning social skills, and we're learning how to just understand their world. As you can see in the first slide, that's one of the ways is our dramatic play. We turn that into a vet clinic, a doctor office, a grocery market, communities. We have different little things set up in different areas. It's one of the most popular parts of our classroom. And this picture, little girl, is they have a vet clinic going on, and she's actually got we use dress-up clothes, we use pets, stuffed animals, all kinds of play equipment, pretend food, things like that, so that they can communicate with each other in a social play way. In the next picture, you can see a little girl doing puppets, and she's either retelling a story or just learning how to talk, language skills through that, and the other kids are learning how to be an audience and reciprocate that or add to that. And we practice clapping, we practice listening, so we're practicing all the good critical thinking and social skills through that. The last one is a little boy is very proud to show off his work, his little art. That's just another way of our communicating. He's learning to express his ideas and get his thoughts down on paper. So that's one of the beginning skills that we're learning. And all of this fosters good critical thinking, social skills, and all through communication. So we do a lot of that. Thank you.
We all know that working in a team or with a partner can have its challenges. Here at LCDC, we like to teach and give students opportunities for collaboration. When students are given the opportunity to collaborate, they are learning to listen to each other's ideas, to work to form a plan, and execute that plan to achieve a common goal or task. For example, here's a picture of 2 students completing a think, pair, share before going to write in their journals. This strategy helps students focus and think through their ideas before writing. The other picture is a picture of students collaborating with a partner to build a sturdy house for one of the 3 little pigs, a literacy extension activity. Students were given a tray of supplies including clay, popsicle sticks, pipe cleaners, tape, straws, rubber bands, and binder clips. After they formed the plan with their partner, the students worked together to create their house. When finished, the big bad wolf, or me with a wolf mask and a blow dryer, attempted to blow their houses down. When any task or challenge is over, we always review the process of collaboration and discuss successes and challenges.
Okay, like you know, I brought a friend with me to help demonstrate. So come on over, bud. This is my student. He's going to introduce himself. Can you tell everyone your name? Can you look at them and tell them your name?
Hi, my name's Heath.
Yes, this is Heath. And Heath, while he gets set up, here's your stuff, Heath. Heath is going to get our coding robot all figured out. So this is Sphero, our coding robot, Indy. It encourages kids to design and build their own mazes. They learn the basics of coding, problem solving, critical thinking skills. And how it works is these little color tiles. It's screenless coding. Students communicate instructions to Indy by placing the color tiles on the floor that tell it what to do and where to go. And so he has worked out a really good maze this morning at center time that he's going to get set up for you. Okay, and then he's going to demonstrate how it works. Nice, huh? Good job, Heath.
Hi, my name is Susan Patno, and I was asked to talk about creativity. In the LCDC program, creativity is really embedded in everything we do. The more creative the kids are, the more they're learning, with lots of problem solving going on as it goes. So one of the cool things I think that we do is to go through this sort of process that's on the slide. It's think about it, build it, try it, revise it, and share it. So I know every class does it a little differently, but in my room, we do a lot of recycle building. So the kids will be asked to bring in as much recyclable material as they want, different size boxes, whatever they think they can use to build something. Once they come to the creative area in the classroom, they normally come with an idea of what they want the project to be. Sometimes they have a little trouble kind of deciding how to put it all together. That's where we ask them to draw a map or a design, like a blueprint for their designs. Then they get to build it. We teach them how to cut the tape, long pieces, short pieces, how you're going to put it together. And then they have to trial and error the entire time, because if it doesn't fit together correctly, they don't get to take it home. So a lot of problem solving goes into creating structures, and we've had kids build things from guitars to robots. And then on this slide, we have two of our kiddos. One of them came with the idea of wanting to build her pet a house. Well, she went as far as drawing the blueprint for it. Then we helped cut some of those boxes, because that can be a little dangerous. But she had to figure out how to get the roof on, where the doors, where the windows were. She put a bed inside. She even created an area in the roof where there was the moon, so that her pet could see the moon. And then the last slide is one of our other kiddos who decided he wanted to make a bug catcher. So he actually has a lever on the one side where it makes the blue container actually lift and close. So lots of creativity, lots of fun problem solving. It really is STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math that they do when they're in that center. So thank you.
And just one last thing, for anyone in the community who is interested in coming to see LCDC and what we do, we have tours on Tuesday afternoons at 3:30, and my email's up there, phone number's up there. We would love to have you come and schedule and come see what we're all about. Thank you.
Item 7 tonight is recognitions. Dr. Travis Zambezi. for robotics and cheer.
Members of the board, Superintendent Cordell, thank you so much for having us tonight. As you know, we celebrate all things Lovejoy, and these two programs definitely give us something to really, really be proud of. So tonight, we are going to honor the accomplishments of our LHS robotics students at the state level. They are up first, and then followed by that, we will honor our LHS cheer team. I'm going to hand it over for robotics right now to Principal Justin Wheeler so he can go into the specifics of the accomplishment for robotics.
Good evening, everybody. I know the robotics team was super excited to see Heath here demonstrate his robot. I think we have a future member of our robotics team. So we're going to recognize our robotics team first, and who better to speak to robotics than our robotics coach, Mr. Coach Brian Sparrow.
Hi, thank you. These teams that we brought to state, they really kind of speak for themselves. Their record at state was combined. They lost one match, and that was because they actually were slated to play each other. And that's their only loss the entire day. So they did incredible. I don't remember what that actual record was. 9-0 or 8-0 and 7-1. So combined right there with just the one loss. And they teamed up together to win the UIL state trophy. And I don't know if you know how that happens, but they could have picked, the top team could have picked any team they chose. And that could have been another team from another city or, I mean, just anywhere in the state that was a 5A school. And they chose each other and just took away, dominated the performance. It was really, really impressive. Not only that, they also took the 2 awards for skills, which is the top skills for their robots that they do. It's just programming and driving. And they literally blew it out of the water. So they are doing amazing this year. We have the regional tournament coming up Friday and Saturday, and that'll be hosted at Lovejoy High School. So come out and support us if you'd like, and it should be really good. And we expect our teams to qualify for Worlds there. We have 7 teams that are going to be going. In addition to the, well, these are the 2 teams going and 5 other teams from Lovejoy that will be joining them as well. So with that, I'll call out their names, and they can come get their certificate. Some can't be here, so I'll pass over those, or I'll say their names, but let me know they're not here. Christian Cazares. Kyle Holleman. Apia Okafor. Colt Whitfill. Liam Whittington. Hannah Schnur. Robert Schnur. Mary Sheridan. Emily Dillon. Justin Mayo. James Bognot. Carson Dykstra. Olivia Lee. Nick Amabile. Nick Vershaw. Zahara Abedin. Sophie Alcaraz Corona.
All right, and next up in student recognitions, it is always outstanding when we can recognize and applaud a group that is always there supporting our teams and our community. And so cheer in their state accomplishments are up next, and so I will hand that off to Principal Wheeler again.
It is just so great to see so many of our students here being celebrated in front of the board, in front of the community. So thank you guys for recognizing our students. So next for us is our cheer program. As Dr. Zambezi said, they do a lot for us around the campus, including pep rallies and everything spirit. Cheer is there. When we have state send-offs, cheer is there. Any activity that we ask, they are there for us. So I just want to say thank you, girls, for always being there for us as a campus. So I'm going to invite up Coach Caban and McClellan to read certificates and recognize our girls.
Okay, we wanted to say Shelly was really sad she couldn't be here tonight. Shelly Wiggins, she's at the middle school doing a parent meeting, so she's sad. But we're really excited for these girls. I'll keep this short, but just so you have a rundown of what we did. In January, we went to the Red Line competition and placed first in our high school division. Then we went on to Fort Worth to compete at UIL and went home with 6th place out of roughly 80 teams. Then we competed in Dallas at NCA, and out of 60 teams, we placed 7th. Along with that, we won the superlative award of crowd leading, which isn't that why we're all here in the first place? So anyways, I call that a win. Anyway, so we just want to go ahead and give these girls a round of applause, but if you could just wait because there's lots of them. So.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to name off their certificates. Darby Anderson, Sutton Constant, Rachel Dobbs, Abigail Fluker, Brianna Foster, Morgan Gold, Lily, Kaylin Hudson, Izzy Joyner, Lacey Lawson, Mia Letza, Zoe Manley, Maddie Metzger, Jordan McGarra. We said there were a lot of them, and they're not all here. Mia Nowak, Gabby P. There you go. Lacey Pierce, Winter Pointer, Megan Schmidt, Sydney Stratmeyer, Kendall Stubing, Avery Taylor, and Adeline Wiggins.
You all are like the best. We're used to it.
All right, next up tonight, we'll have public comments related to the February 24, 2025 agenda items.
There are no comments this evening, President Owens.
No public comments tonight. All right, if you would bow your heads with me for our invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to gather. Thank you for each of these board members, community members, and thank you for these great celebrations that happen tonight to recognize our students and our staff. Well, we're so grateful to be serving, and we pray that you would just be with us in our deliberations and fill our hearts and our minds with an attitude of service. And just watch over us and keep us safe in our travels. In Christ's name, amen. All right. Notifications, you have those in your packet of new hires, resignations, and PIRs. So you have that in your package there. Item 11 is our consent agenda. Does anybody want anything pulled for review in our consent agenda? If not, I would also consider a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mark Wheelis. Second, Amy Smith. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 12 is our Board Legislative Subcommittee update. Mr. James?
Thank you. So I had the opportunity last week to travel down to Austin. There was a conference that I was able to attend and got to listen to presentations from Chairman Buckley, who's the House Chair of Pub Ed. Also got to hear a presentation from Lieutenant Governor Patrick. Also, our comptroller gave a presentation, Mr. Hager. Also listened to a panel with Congressman Chairman Van Dever and Congressman Tallarico. And so I got a good cross-section of kind of the pulse of what's coming in our legislative session, which was good to hear what all of these representatives and leaders had to say. We're traveling again tomorrow with the rest of the committee to visit with some of our representatives in Austin. So we're engaged as a board. We're listening. We're paying attention. There's bills that have been filed both on the Senate side and the House side. We'll get to that in the meeting. So we put in the presentation our priorities again. We're sharing these with any representatives we meet with. We're sharing the priorities. I'll reemphasize that we built the priorities this year so that community members can tell their personal stories. Any of these representatives and leaders that you're interacting with, find a place within these priorities that you can connect with and tell your story about the impact of these programs on your families. That's what I believe will have impact as we move through the legislative session. We've also created the second part of that was the talking points. The administration created this as a place to put kind of numbers to impact. With a lot of these are around kind of unfunded mandates, things where we have requirements to have things in our budget, but we don't have any additional funding to fill the gaps. Some of these gaps are substantial. So if you haven't taken a look at that, take a look at where the gaps are and connect that to your personal situation. I think that'll be impactful. So next slide. We've been meeting with our local representatives, had a meeting with Representative Noble. We've met with another North Texas Collin County representative. Jeff Leach is a new member on the Education Committee. We had a good meeting with Mr. Leach. He's also carrying one of these bills, so he's definitely engaged and involved with education. If you have a relationship there, I encourage you to reach out. He seems to be receptive to learning about what's going on here as well. Mentioned we're traveling tomorrow and Wednesday to meet with representatives. Continue. Governor Abbott did, I think since our last meeting, he did talk about the emergency items. A lot of these were expected, some of them having to do with education. Education savings accounts were one of the things he put down as an emergency item, so that multiple bills have been filed on that front already. Keep going. So some of since we last met, they've named both the leadership of the committees from the Senate side and on the House side. So a lot of these members are people that have been on these committees in the past, but some of the people are new. So these are people to be engaged with, and make sure that these are the people that are definitely going to be involved in pushing the legislation connected to education in this session. On the Senate side, Senate Bill 2 is the bill that's already passed through the Senate and been moved over, passed on to the House side, related to the education savings accounts, otherwise known as vouchers. So there's details about that bill that you can look to. More recently, the House put forward their kind of corresponding legislation around this, so I'll talk about that more in just a minute. The Senate Bill 26 is another interesting bill also brought forward by Chairman Creighton. This speaks a lot about funding related to teacher retention, talking about there's a big push within the legislation, proposed legislation so far about how to reward teachers that are experienced, reward teachers that have shown high effectiveness. There's lots of different ways that are being talked about. There's things you'll hear about called the TIA, which is a method of doing this, but there's other legislation around this front. So this bill has a lot of details, and some of these things, being a district, we're in a district that has less than 5,000 students, so some of these numbers could be meaningful if some of this legislation moves forward. So we're going to be learning more about how this could impact us, and talking to the leaders as we go down there about this particular piece of legislation and how the House views this as well. So similar to the Senate side, the House Committee on Pub Ed, we have Chairman Buckley, who was the chairman last session, has been very receptive and open to meeting with us, and we appreciate that. I did enjoy getting the opportunity to hear his presentation when I was there last week. One of his comments that I thought was interesting in the session, he said that the process might be a little bit messy this session, but he anticipates it being historic. That was his words. And he's not one for hyperbole, so I think that will be interesting to see exactly what he means by that as the session progresses. There's a subcommittee that's been named, which is new this year, and Representative Tallarico, the vice chair on this committee, I got the opportunity to listen to his comments, which are very different than some of the other members of the subcommittee. So it's, again, good cross-reference, and people in leadership in various roles within the committees and subcommittees tied to education. Multiple pieces of legislation were introduced was it this week? I'm losing track. Late last week. Days are running together. But 3 bills that are being carried by Chairman Buckley. Representative Leach is carrying the bill tied to school discipline in schools, which is part of this legislation, the way I understand it, is tied to trying to bring back a little bit more local control around discipline and empowering teachers to make smart decisions in their classrooms. So I'll be interested to see where that legislation goes. And the corresponding bill to the ESA legislation around school vouchers is House Bill 3. That's the one to take a look at how it compares and contrasts to the Senate. We're still digging through all the details. I think just House Bill 3 by itself was something like hundreds of pages, so we haven't gone through all the details yet, but we're looking to see how it affects us. Again, our local representatives are Senator Angela Paxton and Representative Candy Noble. Encourage you to reach out with your personal stories about how all of these proposed pieces of legislation could affect us.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions, board, from that update? Thank you for that, Jason. So more to come. Item 13 tonight is updates on board policy update related to TASB localized number update 124.
Yes, good evening, President Owens, Superintendent Cordell, and trustees. I'll keep this short as it's just a presentation only, but we received update 124 from TASB. These are just recommendations. So of course, we automatically adopt our legal policies, and then administration takes a very close look at our local policies and for board consideration. So at a future board meeting, we'll bring forward the policies on the next slide for consideration. So these are the policies listed. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Ms. Taylor?
Do you have any concern with any of the new policies they have coming down?
No, sir, that's a great question. If we did, we would have marked it and striked it up for y'all to, review at your terms. But they were pretty simple this time, pretty standard, I'd say. So, yeah, just a few minor things that we took a close look at, but nothing major.
What caused the updates?
So what causes the updates is just, so right now, for example, legislation, so we're in a, 89th legislative session. As they hear things happening, they'll send us, updates that are not required, but that they are taking a closer look at and want us to as well as an administration. So, and again, we don't have to, but these go forward to y'all for consideration and approval.
All of these, I believe, were on the legal side, not the local side of the update. Is that not right? Or there were some local also?
Yes, sir. The ones listed here are just the local ones.
Just
So
the
pretty-
local.
Yes, sir.
I had it reversed. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yep. So apologies, yes. So a pretty short list this time. Usually they send a more extensive list, but. One of the examples was like. Let you come up and speak on it.
For like the DH, one of the examples was from tobacco to nicotine, and I think that had to do something with probably the vaping. I didn't give details, but I just noticed some minor changes, for example, like that.
Great point. And like GKA local, kind of similar to what Mrs. Koenig mentioned about, I think it was like usage on site or facilities as far as like cigarettes or things like that. So pretty simple.
Thank you.
Yes,
One of
sir.
the things we had asked for was a chance to review these prior to adopting, so I know you're presenting those for us to review, and
Yes.
we'll take a look at that so that next time we can consider looking at these as far as the local policies are concerned.
Yes,
So,
sir. Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right, next up is our safety and security update. Mr. Percival?
Good evening. So in Lovejoy, kids come first, clearly. And that was demonstrated tonight with a packed house of people that were here to celebrate our students here in the district. And they ranged in age from 4 all the way to senior, which is really a great thing, and it makes us very unique. Another thing that's unique here in our school district is our legacy of excellence that we continue to lean into. And that's in the classroom, that's out of the classroom, that extends to our safety and security. And so the safety and security of our students, our faculty, our visitors is something that we continue to lean into and continue to be very progressive with. And so our Safety and Security Director, Casey Littlefield, and his team have prepared an update that they'd like to share tonight. And then if all goes well, we may have a little demonstration as well. So I'm going to kick it over to Director Littlefield.
Let's cross our fingers. So good evening, Board, Superintendent Cordell. So as we present tonight, hopefully everyone will notice a theme in our presentation. So we've always prided ourselves, specifically in the safety and security program, on taking a holistic approach to safety and security, one that includes key stakeholders and one that allows us to move towards the same common goal, which is the goal of keeping our students, staff, parents, visitors, and community members safe while they're at Lovejoy. It takes a village for us to be successful, and this update highlights how all of our stakeholders are participating in this unique approach. I first want to acknowledge our 2 school marshals that are here tonight. We have our lead school marshal, Regan Aguirre, who's here in our presence, and we just want to thank him for being here tonight. He's part of our demo that we're going to do here in a little bit. And then George Jacquez, back in the back, is our school marshal. These two school marshals are phenomenal. They're both at the high school, and I'll always stand behind these two guys. The high school is very, very fortunate to have these two individuals working for them. They are two of the most dedicated, invested, excited school marshals that we have, and all of our school marshals are great, but these two, we couldn't be more happy to have them at the high school, representing the high school. And I'm sure our principal in the back is very grateful as well. I know he is. So tonight we're going to highlight a few things. We're going to talk about our Fujitsu project, our drone project, our first responder collaborations, and then our robot dog that we now currently have. So the Fujitsu project, if you guys remember, this is a partnership that we have, Lovejoy ISD with Fujitsu. And what this is it is basically Fujitsu provides us a software that identifies behavior-based actions on camera and in turn allows us to intervene in situations where policies, rules, and sometimes laws are broken. Some examples of this would be it allows us to intervene when we see fence jumping onto our properties. We see piggybacking, people coattailing into our schools that haven't signed in through the doors. It allows us to identify behaviors that we may deem to be suspicious. The main goal of this project is that we stay in a prevention and mitigation state. And so in the safety and security world, there are organizations that live in the response state, which means they're waiting for something to happen and then they're going to take action. But we are living in the prevention and mitigation state. We want to make sure that we shut things down, we head things off, and we get involved early in the process. And that way we can teach, coach, and train, and we can do the right thing and instead of doing that response mechanism. We've had a wonderful experience in our partnership with Fujitsu. We're extremely excited on, that they've taken a great pride in helping Lovejoy with this software, and the partnerships extend through the whole entire Fujitsu team. They're coming in from Canada. They're flying in. We're meeting periodically. They're awesome partners. Also, too, I want to highlight our IT department is heavy into this project, and they definitely need to be recognized as a partner in this project. So we're very grateful to our IT partners. And then our safety and security team has been heavily involved in this process as well. So because of this project, not only will our school marshals have a new wonderful tool in their toolbox, but we will have built great interdepartmental and private sector partnerships along the way. Moving on to our drone project. So George Jacquez in the back is our chief drone pilot for Lovejoy ISD, and we're happy to say that we brought on our second pilot today. School Marshal Sean Tomlinson passed his FAA Part 107 test today, so we now have 2 pilots with Lovejoy ISD. We've completed our training with Paladine, who is our drone provider. We've done visual observer and drone pilot training, and so we are ready to move forward on this project. We're still waiting on a few things to be fully operational, but we're already implementing the partnerships within our schools. So George and I have spent time at Willow Springs Middle School. We've spent time at the high school with our students, getting in front of our students that are in those robotics and technology classes, and letting them see and understand what this drone's about. Drones are going to be the future of a lot of what we do, and so it's exciting for these students. And so we're not only getting in front of our students, but we're really truly developing relationships with students that we wouldn't otherwise have contact with. So it's been phenomenal from that aspect. So again, because of this project, not only do our school marshals have a wonderful new tool in their toolbox, but we've been able to build strong relationships with both Lucas Fire, our emergency managers, our students, teachers, and our community along the way. So the third bullet point would be our first responder collaborations. So I will say that all of our school marshals are extremely diligent in building relationships with our first responders. Year to date, I can tell you, I've been here since 2018, we've seen more first responders on our campuses this year than we've ever seen before, ever. Chief Chandler, the new police chief at Fairview Police Department, has been a tremendous partner, and I can tell you he's completely on board with having his police officers in our schools building relationships, and we couldn't be more happy. Our Collin County Sheriff's Office is in our schools almost every day. I was at a campus the other day. A deputy was there visiting the school. I drove to another campus, and he showed up at that campus, didn't even know I was going to be there, visiting that school. So we're seeing involvement all around. Our fire departments are consistently supporting any and all events that we ask them to do. They're anywhere and everywhere in our district, and we love our fire partners. So we recently had our Collin County Sheriff's Office, Fairview, and DPS partners at a recent lockdown drill at the high school. It allowed them to be a part of that lockdown process so they can understand how that looks in real life, but it also allows them to be part of the after-action process, which means we get to sit in a room and hear their feedback, and it allows them to build those partnerships with not only school marshals, but school staff, counselors, and principals. So because of the collaborations, again, not only do our marshals, are they able to feel supported by our first responders, but our principals, counselors, and other school staff feel that support from our first responders as well. The RoboDog, this is an exciting one for us. So Lovejoy ISD acquired Spike, the robot dog, this past year as part of a foundation grant request on behalf of Curriculum and Safety and Security. And as always, our foundation delivered. And as the year progressed, the safety and security team has taken a liking to the robot dog. And we have added a few responsibilities to this dog, and we'll highlight those shortly. So while it was in possession of the curriculum and instruction department, it was they named it Spike. And so when we took on Spike, we threw a school marshal vest on Spike, and we turned him into Crypto, the super dog. So his name when he's in our possession is Crypto. So that's what he goes by. When we got the robot dog, I told George, who's in the back, hey man, you got to really become good at this because we're going to highlight this dog this year. And I can tell you that George has taken it to the next level. He is passionate about the technology. He's got a great kind of captainship within our district and does a phenomenal job with Crypto. So we've taken it to several events at all age levels. So I've taken it to the pre-K and I've showed it to our little bitty kids. We've taken it to the high school. So you guys would be surprised at the excitement this creates with anyone from 2 years old to our fire police chief at 60 years old. I mean, these people are excited about this robot, and so it's very, very nice to see that. Because of this technology, not only do our marshals have a new wonderful tool in their toolbox, but the student, teacher, parent, first responder, and marshal interactions have been extremely beneficial for us. So what we're going to do now is we're going to demonstrate kind of maybe what we would utilize this dog for. We get this question asked to us all the time. And so we're just going to highlight an example of what we could possibly use this robot dog for. So let's cross our fingers and hope the technology works out well. So Regan is setting up a little partition wall, and Regan is gonna, there you go. And Regan is gonna be what we're gonna simulate as the bad guy that has run into a room and is hiding in a dark room, and we know that he's isolated by himself, and because we know that he's armed with a pair of scissors, we want to go ahead and make the robot dog go in first to identify and make commands. So, George, take it away.
Marshall Harkness with Lovejoy ISD. Come out with your hands in the air and slowly walk towards the sound of my... Stop right there. Do it. Look to your right and close your eyes. Do not move. Do it now.
All right, and then insert school marshals and/or law enforcement to place this individual into custody. So there's our demonstration. So I think it went well. Technology worked. Thank you so much, George. All right, Crypto, so if you'll go over there, there by Kyle Percival and just lay down for us, that'd be really, really good. So in summary, as you can see, nothing that we do as a safety and security team happens in a silo. Great partnerships are the key driver for everything that we do. Every discussion point tonight has highlighted partnerships from police chiefs to county, state, federal officials, to fire chiefs, students, teachers, and administrative partners, private sector partners in our community. We're all in this together. I do believe in the motto, "It takes a village," and I love that we're seeing that play out each and every day here at Lovejoy. So.
Outstanding.
We'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
I just have a comment. So I've had the privilege to watch this evolve from inception, and I'm so thankful and so impressed with the intentionality and the pursuit for always growing and becoming more and more collaborative and creative, but most importantly, your care. This team and the care that you provide to this school district is second to none, and that is what is absolutely unique and precious and special about how you keep this place so safe. And we're so grateful for your investment and your sincerity in what you do. Thank you.
A little bit of a tech question. So what kind of tech is in this dog?
I'm not much of a tech guy, so I'm not be able to answer that
The
question.
spinny thing, is that LiDAR or? don't
I'm
know?
not sure. I think, I feel like that's just a cooling fan, but I'm not sure what that's.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, it really is cool. It does have live feed video and.
So you can just operate it with a controller or your phone or?
Yeah, so you can operate it with any smart device. So he just puts it on a tablet. We have a Wi-Fi or a hotspot card that goes with it, and it's, as long as there's Wi-Fi connectivity, it works phenomenal.
What's the ongoing maintenance and any lifespan on something?
I don't know, to be honest with you, the specs on it. I know that it's a lot more rugged than what was initially thought. Like, I could walk over right now and just kick it as hard as I could, and it's gonna roll over because of that impact, and it's just gonna stand straight back up and set itself up. So that they're super durable. They're designed to flip, and but I'm not quite sure on the lifespan of it. We acquired it. I know we were happy to get our hands on it. Curriculum had it at first, using it for their thing, and so.
Everything you've done has been impressive and continues to be, and we are grateful. As Amy said, I can't say it any better than she said it, but very impressive.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Littlefield, and thank you, team.
He did great.
That's really cool. All right. Hard to top the things we've had at the beginning of the meeting here tonight, from the celebrations to the safety and security. Next up is our 2030 Lovejoy 2030 Strategic Plan Update. Ms. Cordell.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. We are definitely an organization that believes in kids coming first, continuous improvement, best today, better tomorrow, and we know that together we are stronger and smarter. One heart, one Lovejoy. And because of these core beliefs, 3 years ago in February 2022, we facilitated 100 of our stakeholders, students, educators, parents, and community members in coming together to develop the Lovejoy 2030 Strategic Plan. In June of 2022, you, our Board of Trustees, approved that plan, and it has served us well as a roadmap for our energy, efforts, and resource allocation. When you approved this plan, we committed to every 2 years coming together, revisiting the plan, and making updates. And we did that this last spring. You will see in the presentation this evening and in the plan that you have been provided that part of that update included safety and security. When the stakeholder committee originally came together to develop a plan, we had some safety focus that was embedded in other areas, but that has become and needed to become such a strong and singular focus that we actually have created, based on that stakeholder input and that update process, a Section 8, which is dedicated to safety and security. So what will happen now is that Cabinet is going to take you through some highlights. They will not read everything that has been provided to you in terms of progress. Much of the progress you have seen and heard about through updates and presentations at Board of Trustees meetings. But this is truly a working document, and I want to thank everyone in the organization who has served this plan through their efforts and their energies. It really has been remarkable to take a look at the amount of progress that has been made. So I will hand it over to Cabinet.
Thank you. So Mrs. Cordell asked us to lift out some of the progress that had been made. It was really kind of hard to land on some of these, but I wanted to bring forward some things that maybe were new that have not been provided in a presentation and give you some recent updates. The first strategy I'm going to is under teaching and learning and it's strategy 1.1.2. And it's advanced teaching and learning by valuing risk-taking and innovation. Something that we have implemented this year is we did some training with our 7th through 12th grade science and math teachers back in August on, we call it ADI, Argument-Driven Inquiry. And it's a model that really does focus on the areas of math, science, and engineering, where students are challenged to figure out maybe why or how something happens, and then to also identify problems of the world and how we can solve those problems. And so the training was conducted in August. We purchased the materials for our math science teachers to utilize, and we've been kind of following up with them and getting feedback along the way with how it's going with implementation. Some of the feedback from some of our most seasoned teachers has been very positive in the manner that it really did kind of shift the way that they were facilitating learning in the classroom, where they were handing more over to the student to drive the learning versus the teacher being more of the facilitator in that. Also, some feedback that we received is just the writing component and the oral presentations that are required in solving these problems. So we're pleased with it. We know there's some more training and support we need to provide for our teachers. We would like to expand it down all the way to kindergarten. So we are exploring training and the resources necessary to incorporate that in our math and science courses, where it would be K-12. And you saw a little glimpse of it tonight when we were looking at what's happening at our early childhood program too. So you would see some of that. The next strategy I'd like to lift up is the strategy 1.1.3, which identifies value in a holistic nature of learning and the role of reflection and feedback through digital portfolios. You've heard us present about the transition of the senior project to the senior portfolio, and to where that's an ongoing project that the students are gathering, where they have this portfolio, so when they leave Lovejoy ISD, they can carry forth that with them and use that whether in post-secondary or in their careers. So the portfolio we purchased was bulbs, so we've done some training and support throughout the year and problem solving with our staff on guiding our students through that. We also incorporated the guidance with that through some of our coursework at the high school. We do have the option with that if you wanted to go all the way down to the lower grades, we could expand it there. We want to kind of test it and see how it goes at the high school level. We've been in a collaboration with a district similar to Lovejoy that is using this throughout all of they're using it K through 12. So more to come on the portfolio. The next strategy is under enhancing learning by providing increased opportunities for enriching and exploratory experiences, and that's strategy 1.2.1. And you've heard us talk a lot about MAP growth, which is the assessment that we are giving beginning, middle, and end of the year, to where it's measuring growth of every student. And you know, one of our strategies is that the goal is that a student will grow a year or more within a year's time. This year we feel like we're getting a better handle on that after being through the initial year with it. We just finished our middle of the year assessments with our students, and today we actually talked through this with our principals during our principal meeting of how they were using those measures, whether it's MAP, whether it's, we have some other assessments down at the elementary level. M-Class is one. There's ways that we are tracking growth, and what those conversations are looking like with our students. One of our principals did lift up that, and we saw a significant growth on that campus, that she attributed that to the goal setting that the teachers were having with students on that campus. More work to come on that, but that's some support that we have done with that strategy. The next strategy is strategy 1.3.1, which is at the bottom of this page here, and it's systematic implementation of essential standards and common formative assessments. You've heard me present several times about the Lovejoy Balanced Assessment Plan, which there are 3 tiers. There's summative assessments, which are at the end of the year. They're your AP exams. They are your STAR exams. There are interim assessment, which would be MAP, growth, benchmarks that we may have, and then there are the formative assessments, which really we should see a high frequency of going on in our classrooms, because that's informing our teachers real-time information and how they can adjust instruction to respond to the needs of our students. So we're proud of the work that our teachers are doing, the progress they're making. We are continuing to support that work with our coordinators and our MTSS leads being out on the campuses. The next strategy, it's undergraduate profile, and that's on page 2 there, and it's strategy 2.1.3, which emphasize open-ended problem-solving opportunities through aligned pre-K-12 programming. The STEM program guide, which I've shared, was introduced this school year. So the next steps on that this year was an initial introduction of that. The next steps is that we will be aligning training for the particular content areas that impacts, and also the grade levels, and teaching those priority standards. We have formed a STEM council that includes parents and educators and also experts from the STEM industry. So we are continuing that work, and more to come on the progress that we're making with implementation of our STEM programming. The next strategy I'd like to lift up is 2.3.2, which outlines enhanced college and career counseling for students and parents. So something the district has engaged in, and this was offered through our Region 10 Service Center. We were contacted to see if we wanted to participate in an effective advising grant. And so this is some similar districts that are part of this group that we're working with, but we have a representative from Region 10 who we have a committee designated that's made up of counselor, district level staff, administrators at the high school and the middle school level. And so the objective of this grant is to support districts in improving effective advising practices and strategies in the district. So what that means is that how are we supporting students' individual career and academic planning and supporting them through their career paths. So it's shifting some of the work that maybe our counselors have not done in the past to where we actually have some structures in place that support effective advising. Also, something that it's going to be coming out before spring break is that we're going to send an additional survey out to our parents and our students about counseling program at the secondary level and primarily the high school, and we are going to embed some additional questions and feedback, requesting feedback about the advising that's occurring or not occurring, and support that maybe our students and our parents feel like they need in that particular area. And then under Legacy of Excellence, Strategy 3.1.1, and that's establishing partnerships, business, industry, community, or educational that enhance the student learning experience. You're well aware of the partnership we've established with My Community Credit Union, and we have some practical experiences we are offering for our students. We'd like to expand that. We also opened the branch in September of '24. And we are currently engaging right now with the Blackland Prairie Raptor Center of looking at some opportunities that not just for some field trips or bringing them into our schools, but also some career paths or practicums for some of our students too. And they're very excited, and we are too, about this possible partnership. And I'm going to hand it over to Anna.
Good evening, and of course, continuing that legacy of excellence, let me move on down here. I'm going to draw your attention to 3.1.3, leverage corporations and individuals to increase giving, monetary time, and mentorship. One thing that we looked at is generating revenue for our district. So as you can see, 70% of our funding expenditure gap has been addressed through local revenue generation. We've increased facility rentals, thanks to Mr. Percival, and also we do sponsorships through Connect with Katie. Anchor sponsorships have increased. And as you recall, we also trademarked several of our logos, and we're getting ready to start those and hopefully help generating revenue through there also. But that has sharply increased this past in the past 3 years.
And continuing with our Legacy of Excellence theme, I'm going to draw your attention first to 3.2.2, provide students the opportunity to provide service and mentorship to younger students. And with that one, I like to think of it, what have we done that you would all recognize that's super meaningful to our kids, not only the younger students receiving it, but the mentorship opportunities for our older students. And so if we just brainstorm some of the really special things we do in Lovejoy, PALS program, reading with the Leopards, increased fine arts presence at the elementary level. I was privileged to be a part of the Superintendent Connection Council when we published, and our kids wrote a book, our 9th through 12th graders wrote a book entitled The Leopard Way. We visited the kindergarten classes to really teach them what it means to be a leopard. And so examples like that continue to flourish. And then on the horizon, and some things that have already happened this year, we look at community service in a way to bring joy to our community and to build relationships. You guys remember the slides for the Heritage Ranch Holiday Parade. We had staff members dressed like elves. Carly Littlefield and the track team dedicated a week of practice to some wonderful choreography. So we do things like that just bring community spirit, but then also, now that some of our athletics leadership with Coach Dodge and Coach Watson, their seasons have come to an end. They're in a place where we can kind of look forward to next year. We're also piloting and having discussions in our athletics leadership meetings, our fine arts leadership meetings, about how can we take the next step and do some mentorship opportunities that are maybe more concrete, where we can talk about culture, discipline, expectations, and how that makes you successful when you get into middle school or high school. So those things are on the horizon. It was as we look towards 2030 to continue to take something that's really good and improve on that. And then next up under Legacy of Excellence, 3.2.3, establish best practice protocols for student expectations, discipline, and behaviors. Uniform across campuses, and then also with that vertical alignment. We have put a lot of work over the last few years into campuses developing acronyms saying et cetera, ROAR, Pride, and then developing lessons in partnership with state mandated lessons like anti-bullying, Your Words Matter, suicide prevention, et cetera. So we've taken those and established some groundwork. I'm really excited, and where a lot of our work right now in behavior comes from developing a campus needs assessment with each one of our campuses, where you take that student voice, but now that teacher voice, and you thematically analyze the data, and then we will use that to continue to strengthen what will be known as our district behavioral framework, right? And it branches into, yes, discipline, of course, and how we act and how we treat others, but also attendance, right? Because that attendance is oftentimes linked to behavior. So that's where we're at on this.
And as we continue through that legacy of excellence, if you look at strategies 3.3, Lovejoy will further our legacy of excellence through connection, communication, and celebration and community. And I feel like this has just been just such a part of, since I've come here this past 3 years, is really enhancing our communication program and also developing connections. Everything from redesigning the website to the app to reaching out. Last week we had a great turnout. We sent a bus over to Heritage Ranch. Scott picked them up. Y'all know Scott, the bus driver. He picked them up. He took them to the Taste of Culture event, and they had such a lovely time. It was a great opportunity. We also started publishing the Living Lovejoy magazine, just celebrating all the great things we do, but also looking with our staff and how we can support them and continue to communicate with them. Just simple things like in our class link, developing an HR folder, everyone else, Travis, student services folder, and putting information there that they need. And of course, since we've done this for the past year or so, they know where to go to get that information. So I'm really privileged to be a part of that.
Okay, so as we move into operations, I want to take this opportunity to lift up a couple things as it relates to operations. So the first one is looking at strategy 4.1.4. So this is pursuing potential revenue and or cost saving opportunities through a holistic balanced technology plan. So when we're looking at this, the first thing that we would like to highlight and bring up is something that Ms. Koenig shared was with facility rentals. The implementation of a practice plan allows for more visibility and availability of our assets that generate revenue. And through this implementation of this software, we've increased our facilities rentals revenue by 62.5% since they've been on board for the past 2 years. The next piece is not only when we look at cost savings and purchasing of our IT equipment, we do a deep dive looking at different contracts, leveraging different cooperatives to ensure that we're getting the best price for all of our devices. But we also explore and look at opportunities to look at how we're operating and how we move from the initial purchasing into the accounts payable process. So this year we implemented a change from of using American Express to Citibank card. And we are starting to implement using this as a mechanism and using the line of credit to pay for a lot of our devices and a lot of our just expenditures in general, which leads to not only a 2% cash back and increase in revenue, but it also allows us to maintain and hold on to our cash for an additional 30 days that we have in our investment account. So we get the interest free for 30 days through Citibank. So we pay that bill right away, earn the 2%, but then we're holding on to our cash a little bit longer through that process. The second one I want to highlight is strategy 4.2.3. This is the implementation of an operations and capital improvement committee. As you may recall, earlier this month, at the beginning of this month, we had the honor to hear the Community-Based Bond Planning Committee present their recommendation for Lovejoy ISD's bond proposal and project proposal. This was based off of another community-based capital planning committee that led into the bond planning committee. Through this whole process, they were actively engaged in a total of 18 meetings. During these meetings, they included facility tours, reviewing of facility needs assessment data, mechanical system assessment data, and then they also had the opportunity to hear from internal experts in the areas of teaching and learning and analyze the feedback from teaching staff. So as I mentioned, all the hard work that was done by the community-based Bond Planning Committee was presented earlier this month, which you all had approved to move forward the following week.
lift up a couple of items under Future Ready. Strategy 5.1.1, cultivate college and career awareness in pre-K through 12. Something that we have coming up, we have with MCCU, we are going to be conducting a kind of a modified version of a reality fair for our business accounting classes over at Lovejoy High School, where they will receive a presentation facilitated by Freddie Diaz, our representative from MCCU, and then a couple of our students who are actually working in the branch there, working with students on the importance of budgeting as an adult and also acquiring credit. So that'll be the focus, with hopefully maybe we may expand that over to Willow Springs with our 7th and 8th graders. With the goal is that we would broaden that reality fair where we would actually take students through a simulation of a real life financial simulation that they would go through. So we would look at what their career path would be, what that salary might be. Then they would have to understand how they would learn to budget for housing, for taxes, for anything having to do with financial life. So that's the goal, is that moving forward next year, we're going to expand that reality fair and include more of our students. So that's an example of some of that's going on. And then on the strategy 5.1.2, and you've heard me share with this, increase opportunities for dual credit, industry certifications, and obtaining an associate's degree. We have expanded the dual credit options this school year and included juniors, and our enrollment has definitely increased, and that's a very popular pathway that some of our students are choosing. So.
Sorry. Okay. And now we're going to talk about talent acquisition, retention support. Of course, Lovejoy ISD will actively recruit, retain highly qualified, effective talent. I want to bring your attention to strategy 6.1.1, create feedback loops between staff and HR to engage in collaboration for continuous improvement. As you recall, in the fall, we did do a survey to all of our staff, which gave us a lot of information about things that we were doing well and things that we definitely need to improve on. Also, gave us information on goals that we probably need to set for next year. We did share that information, of course, with you, and went back and shared it with staff at team huddles, but received a lot of feedback. Also, with our Teacher Superintendent Connection Council, we meet with them monthly. Gives them an opportunity for other staff members to ask us. They would submit questions or ideas or just want some feedback. They bring it to us. We talk about it in a group, respond and share it with the schools and campuses too. The other one I wanted to talk about was 6.1.2, establish best practices and partnerships with universities and alternative certification programs, which you're going to see there's an MOU. I'm asking to add another partner tonight, but it is really important that we build a pipeline of highly qualified teachers and staff members, and so we do have partnerships with TWU, UTD through our residency program. Tonight I'm going to ask you for a TWU, Texas Women's University, just so that we can get teachers, we can recruit from within, we can train them, and also it's almost like a year-long interview process when they're here. But that was another one. And then strategy 6.2 will create an enhanced compensation plan to allow for innovative monetary, non-monetary compensation, work features that reward highly effective teachers. We continue to explore alternate avenues. I know earlier tonight TIA mentioned that is something we're looking back into. There's a lot of talk about that by our legislators, and so we're going to talk about that. We also, this past year, we received a grant from the foundation, and also we had so many people apply. We received money that Thomas found for us to do nationally board certification, so our teachers could get trained to be a nationally board certified teacher and also receive money through TIA. Working with the foundation, they're wonderful to work with to help with our new teachers and providing the holiday bonus. And then any type of perks, when someone reaches out to us, we make sure we share those with the staff and add them to our perks page. And one more that I wanted to, Laura, Dr. Tinsley, I think that's you next for professional development there. Sorry, it's the next one, 6.3.1.
Okay. So one of the pieces that we've done with new staff with our professional development, we did receive some feedback. We do an annual survey with our staff to receive feedback on how it's going with professional development areas, gaps that we may have, strengths that are there. So we made sure that we incorporated opportunities for our new staff so that we, as we're onboarding staff, we are ensuring that they have the same training and supports that our current staff have, and also we provide mentors for them throughout the school year. And our principals have done a really good job utilizing our coordinators who we have out on our campuses and our MTSS leads to help provide a greater level of support for our new staff.
All right, and I'll kick off financial sustainability. And we're going to focus on 7.1.2, identify fees, donations, and attendance improvements to offset costs. So a little bit of history on this one. The district experienced an increased overall attendance rate in 23-24 compared to the previous year, leading to the setting of a district improvement team goal regarding attendance. The current goal is for LISD to achieve a 96% attendance rate this year or higher for the 24-25 school year. As of February 25, the district attendance rate is just over that 96%. 4 of 5 campuses this year have implemented attendance incentives. Another thing that we're doing is working closely with our campus administration teams to implement the best practices and protocols regarding truancy prevention, 90% law, compulsory attendance laws. We're doing a lot of internal work and a lot of work with Ms. Koenig's department and PEEMS to ensure that our practices, we have the right data so we can respond to it effectively, and pretty much making flow charts to enable us to do the right kind of work and respond to things quicker. And ultimately, the goal is to ensure that that attendance rate is just high, because that, yes, we do get funding from that. But at the same time, and more importantly, to build a relationship with that family to ensure that they're safe with us at school and learning at the highest levels possible.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, with the exception of for every 1% improvement in attendance equates to about $300,000 in funding.
So I'm going to take us down to our 8th and final target, which is safety and security. And Superintendent Cordell did a really great job earlier of talking about this newly added section that was added for year 3. Lovejoy ISD will support a safe and secure environment for all students and staff. And so as you heard Director Littlefield go through the safety and security update tonight, you can hear, regardless if you're brand new to the district or you've been here for a number of years, that culture of creating a safe environment, both in the schools, around the campuses, and here within the community. And so I'm not going to go through in detail each one of these, but I just want to run through and talk about the layered approach that you're going to see within this final phase of the strategic plan. You see our marshals and the robust training that our marshals go through, and it's not like a check and we're finished. The marshals continue to lean in and continue to hone their skill set. Each of them brings something completely different to the table, and so that's a critical component to the plan, but most critical to the work that we do here in the district and that culture of safety. The other side of that is our staff and staff training. And that's such a critical component. Again, when our teachers and our staff at the campus level show up day in and day out, their expertise is teaching and learning. They're here to serve students. But they also have to continue to hone that skill set of how to keep themselves and their kiddos safe day in and day out. So as mentioned earlier, all of our campuses have gone through and successfully completed CRACE training. Our Marshall team also offered a community training for those in the community that wanted to come up and complete that back in January. Another factor or component are our partnerships. And we talked a little bit about partnerships earlier during the update, but really reaching out and making sure that we've got the resources to support our culture of safety here in the school district. We talked about the AI partnership with Fujitsu. We talked about the drone as a first responder partnership with the City of Lucas and the fire department. And then that last component there of the layered approach talks about our first responders and how critical those relationships are. And you heard Casey talk about, since he's come on board in 2018, he's never seen our first responders more engaged here in the school district. And that's something that we'll continue to move forward. It's something that we're proud of. I know it's something that our first responders are proud of, and it's something that will help us continue to push the envelope and create those safe environments for our faculty and our kiddos. And that concludes the update.
Thank you, Cabinet. So in a climate of significant challenges, whether it be funding, declining enrollment, changes, and new requirements at the state level, we are really proud at the progress that has been accomplished, and we know that this has had an impact on our students, which is the whole purpose of a strategic plan, is to making sure we are making impact on our students. And the exciting thing is we're not done. You heard tonight in a lot of the words from Cabinet, some excitement and commitment to next steps and what is next.
Yeah, I appreciate the update. It is exciting to hear, you know, given the development of the strategic plan and making it an operational living, breathing document was a significant step in the way we went about that, engaging the community with those stakeholders to come in and help actually drive this. So this is really the community speaking through this plan to our leadership about the vision and future for what Lovejoy should look like, AKA Lovejoy 2030. And then to step back tonight, and as we have in the past, and evaluate the progress that's been made in each of these areas is just really phenomenal. You hear a lot about strategic plans in a lot of organizations, and I know I've been in several where it's a buzzword and it's a comment, but it's actually not a practical, applicably applied document. And here I'm witnessing and seeing the efforts organically grown through our community and then being executed upon by our leadership. So I just wanted to say thank you for being deliberate and being focused, and regardless of the noise that happens in the throes of business, whether it be the school business or any other business, being able to execute on a strategic plan takes leadership. And you guys have been able to apply that to the work to be able to keep us being, you know, living to our motto, best today, better tomorrow. So it's impressive. I thank you for the update. I don't have any questions. I just have appreciation for the work that's been done.
Barrett, I'll echo that. You said that very well. Several of us have been here for a long time in the district, and we've seen other iterations of strategic plans previously that I think were well-intentioned, but I think showing this follow-through and accountability to the plan should give the community people that worked hard on this and through many meetings when they developed it should feel good about that work, knowing that it's actually being acted upon years later. And so this won't be the last strategic plan for the district, but it's a good blueprint for how the work is continuing to be done. So I really appreciate it as well.
Comments?
No, I just say great job. It's pretty eye-opening when you take a step back and look at all the accomplishments they've done. So it's a great job.
Thank you all very much. Next item tonight will be item 16, presentation for the 2025 bond election informational presentations. Looks like Mr. Percival is back on the mic.
So February 6th, we had a special meeting in this room, and the Bond Planning Committee made a presentation to the Board of Trustees for consideration for a May 2025 bond election. 1 week later, we came back. The board decided to call for a bond election for May 3rd, 2025. And so in an effort to bring the community along and to make some presentations available, to make information available to our parents, our community members, our stakeholders, and provide them and equip them with accurate, factual information. We've put together some dates that you'll see there on the screen. These specific dates will also be found on the district calendar and social media. In addition, there's also a very comprehensive website that's under construction and will be made available to the public very soon. There'll be additional dates. These are not an all-encompassing list, but these are the first scheduled meetings where community members will have an opportunity to come out and learn more about the bond proposal that they'll be voting on later this spring. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have about what those presentations will look like or anything else.
Board questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, item number 17 is our budget workshop. Number 3, Mr. Willman.
All right. Good evening, Board. Superintendent Cordell. So tonight for Budget Workshop 3, we're going to take a moment and review the budget priorities that we discussed back in the January regular board meeting. And then from there, we're going to look at some historical figures and fund balance and kind of walk you through the from dating back to 4 to 5 years ago and the journey that we've been on to kind of restore and maintain a healthy fund balance. And then from there, we're going to kind of dive into the different considerations and things that we're going to be focused on and the timeline of events from there. So to start off, what we have here is based off the conversation that we had back in January, the regular board meeting. You had discussed that you would like to maintain the 4 pillars that were established 3-4 years ago, which was the fund balance, enrollment, attendance, and compensation. But then we had conversations around including and maintaining the safety and security as one of the priorities, and then looking at the student educational experience. So when we add those two, we kind of lumped in enrollment and attendance together there. They kind of play off and feed off one another. So we know this is going to be a fluid process. We know that we're going to learn some new things as we navigate through this process, the budget process, and navigate through legislative session. But these are the main priorities that we discussed back in back in January. So before I move on, I would like to just take a moment and just ensure that I've captured the conversation back in January, and if there's anything else that you would like for us to add, or if you would like for us to move forward with these as our budget priorities for 25-26.
No, the priorities, I think, reflect our discussions up to this point, and I feel good about what the priorities are, and so I think that's reflective of what we'd hope for as a board. Any other questions or comments about that, board?
Okay, thank you. So when we take a look here at kind of the 5-year trajectory dating back to 2020, 2021, so the reason why the 4 pillars were established of the fund balance, compensation, enrollment, attendance was mainly in part to how we ended the year in 2020, 2021, which left us with below kind of the threshold of 90 days of fund balance, where we ended at 78 days. I want to caveat this when we're looking at this. Last year, through this process, we made a change in how we were calculating the fund balance, the days of fund balance, where we excluded recapture as an operating expense, because it's not really necessarily an operating expense. So in previous presentations, I just want to highlight that you may have seen where this was like 76 days or lower, but through this recalculation of operating expense and excluding recapture from it, it gets us at 78 days. So just want to highlight that change in the formula. But what you can see here is that over the course of the 5 years, we have more than doubled our fund balance, getting us to ending days of fund balance at the end of last fiscal year of 178. And then as we're looking at the current year, our most recent budget amendment that we submitted last month, we are still anticipating a deficit budget, but we'll still be well over that 90 days. We are constantly meeting and looking at our budget for the current year. We do anticipate that there may be some slight changes here because we do have unfilled positions. We're having conversations on when we feel that we will fill those positions, if we're not going to fill those positions. If they're not filled, are we incorporating more overtime? For instance, for like our custodial staff, if they're shorthanded, then the staff that are on staff now are working overtime. So what's that balance of how much overtime they're having and then how much we're saving by not having that position filled? So we'll continue to provide updates on where we believe we're going to end in the fiscal year, because we know that where we end the current fiscal year will also help drive the process and some of the decisions that we're going to make going into the 25-26 year. So here I just wanted to highlight and just show kind of the 5-year payroll analysis. So when we're looking at the first column here on the left, our payroll, you can see that we went from a payroll of $34.6 million in 2020-21, which represented over to the far right, which is about 87% of our overall expenditures and 88% kind of there in the middle of our total revenue. To where we're right now, where we're expecting based off of the most recent budget amendment to be in about $33 million. So you see that over the course of 5 years, we have reduced payroll by roughly $1.6 million, and more in line of kind of what is expected as far as percent of expenditures down to 83%, and then 84% of revenue. I'd like to highlight that even though we have saved the 1.6 through we're experiencing declining enrollment. We've been scaling staff, looking at programmatic changes. We've also been able to incorporate an 8% pay increase for our teachers, and also for all of our other staff, 6%. So with the compensation increase and scaling for enrollment and looking at efficiencies, we've been able to save $1.6 million over that time. Another thing I'd like to highlight here is when we look at our revenue. So we've been able to maintain similar revenue from 2021 all the way through the current year, in spite of the declining enrollment. A lot of that is due to the efforts of revenue generation from facility rentals to all of the hard work that Anna's team does in getting sponsorships and things of that nature. But I also want to highlight when we look at 21-22 and 22-23, the effort of a lot of that increased revenue is mainly around grant opportunities, exploring. We received the ESSER supplemental grant, but we also looked at grant opportunities as it relates to the teacher residency grant, the child LCDC grant that we received. So those are one-time funding sources that roll off, which rolled off after the 22-23 year, and we're still working and striving to find those grant opportunities to help kind of maintain or even increase our revenue. So I can't kind of share throughout the conversation. So how did we get here? So, we've talked about the declining enrollment over time. We've seen, over 22% inflation since 2019, and there's been no increase to the basic allotment since then. We've had the annual compensation increase each year. We've made program model adjustments and really explored different revenue generation ideas. So now as we look at the 25-26 kind of preliminary, budget considerations as we start developing the budget and start formulating the numbers for us to present to you in the next, in March budget workshop, we are anticipating a deficit budget under current law. We continue to explore revenue generating opportunities. With all that being said, we are not anticipating any significant programmatic changes that we're going to bring forth or any significant expense reductions. That doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to explore efficiencies and diving into our contracts and our non-payroll, the non-personnel side, and see if we can't find expense reductions. But we're not going to bring forth any dramatic changes to our budget through this process. We're going to continue to look towards as compensation as a priority, a 2% annual payroll increase. And then also an inflationary increase in our non-personnel supplies and materials of 2%. Last year, we saw about a 35% increase in our property and liability insurance. We haven't heard much from them at this point, but we are going to plug in a 20% increase just to play it safe until we hear a little bit more on kind of where we believe that's going to be. Then we're going to maintain our $300,000 contingency.
Thomas, on the property and casualty increase, when it comes up time for renewal, will you look into different deductibles? Because sometimes if you increase your deductible a decent amount, it's pretty good savings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those will be part of our conversations with TASB's risk management. Yep. Okay, so different areas of focus, as we all know, we've been discussing the legislative session, so we know there's going to be a lot of different things coming through in the coming months. We're prepared to be able to run different scenarios based off of those conversations and what we're hearing, to be able to present to you what those financial impacts are. And in an ideal world, we'll know exactly what's going to happen come May. In our timeline, we give that flexibility to bring forth the budget for approval in June. So if we're able to have some visibility, insight on kind of what's going on in the legislative session by May, we'll be able to incorporate that into our budget for the 25-26 year. We're really going to focus on personnel, and then also looking at our vacancies and finding ways to address the vacancies. Another area we really want to look at and run different scenarios on are the kind of class size ratios at all of our schools and what that means to our budget. And then really looking in and deep dive into enrollment and Lovejoy Scholars. I know we had a conversation in previous month around the Lovejoy Scholars, so we want to make sure that we're providing any information that you would all like to see in order to make a decision around how to move forward with the 25-26 budget.
Thomas, with the legislative session going on, what is the last day that we would have to be able to approve the budget for the next year?
Yeah, we have to approve it by June 30th. So in June, we have to have an approved budget before going into the new fiscal year.
So we may want to get a special session ready if we need to.
Yeah, so we know what we normally do in these years is we would pass a budget as we were required to do, and then we'll amend that budget based on activities that may benefit us to the extent they do. Fingers crossed, hopefully they do. We would look forward to that special meeting, Mark.
Well, hopefully there's a windfall and we can do some extra things. Who knows?
It would be very nice. We'd be happy to do it. So
Yeah, so that's a great point, because we're going to have to bring back a budget amendment in August, because we'll present a budget for approval under the current tax rate, but we won't know the new tax rate until August. So we'll have an opportunity as part of that to also incorporate anything that we learn through the legislative session.
forward to being able to solve some of those problems.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Willman? you want to talk about, Mr. Willman? I'm not.
I was just going to talk timeline. So we kind of talked about it, backwards mapping. We have until June to approve the budget. So we'll have a couple of workshops in March, April, and May to kind of wrap things up. So in March, our plan is to present you at some initial numbers. We can see based off of the assumptions that we have here, what that could potentially look like. And then going forward in April and May, just the different scenarios that we discuss as far as areas of focus.
Very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up is consider an act on a third-party CDL testing, MOU. Mr. Percival?
No, you're before me.
So one of the things that we have experienced here in the district, around the state, really nationwide, is a driver shortage, more specifically a school bus driver shortage. Part of that reason is because school bus drivers are required to have a commercial driver's license. And so one of the things that we've found through the process here within the district is we do a really good job of training a driver that has a Class C, just regular driver's license like most of us have, that's working to obtain a CDL. We provide training. We help them go down to DPS. They have 5 written exams they've got to get through. That gives them a commercial learner's permit. Once they have that commercial learner's permit, then they can train on a bus. They then start to train and work towards a skills test, a pre-trip test, a road test that they perform in a school bus. One of the things that becomes a challenge is that if you take your new driver to DPS and you schedule that testing, there's usually can be up to a 6-week turnaround time. So they finish their coursework, they finish their training, now we have a 6-week delay before we go perform for a DPS authorized officer. An option that we have is to go into an agreement, an MOU, with a district that is a certified third-party test site. Denton ISD is a third-party certified test site that has agreed to go into an agreement, an MOU, with Lovejoy. That would take our turnaround time from up to 6 weeks to about 5 to 7 days. And so the scheduling conflict and location would be removed. We would have to pay a fee. It's $100 per person. But this would, I think, greatly increase the likelihood and the chances of our coaches, our teachers, and our bus drivers that work through the rigorous process of obtaining a CDL. To the point where we feel like that it's a good recommendation for us to bring forward for consideration for you guys tonight. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that process or what that looks like.
So I've read this, and it's pretty straightforward. It seems like very beneficial to us in every single way I see. How does Denton benefit from this, other than do they have a requirement to run a certain number of people through there?
They do. So as a and that's a great question. As a third-party test site, you do have a minimum requirement of the number of CDL trainees that you run through, which does not make us a good candidate to be our own third-party test site, just because we don't have the volume that a larger district does. So they have that, and then they do, like I mentioned, they do charge a fee of $100 per person that comes through their program. And that's in alignment with other districts around the state that have that same third-party recognition.
That makes perfect sense. Any other questions? If not, I'd consider a motion on the MOU.
I move to approve the CDL testing memorandum of understanding as presented.
Second.
So moved, Jeff Wood, second, Julie McLaughlin. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is consider an act on professional practicums memorandum of understanding. Practicums, I said that wrong.
Practicums, yes.
Sorry.
No, you're great saying that. Yes, we are asking that you consider an act on an MOU, a memorandum with Texas Women's University, their educator program, preparation program. We want to seek a collaborative relationship focused on the improvement of educator preparation. Basically, this program allows college students enrolled in an EPP to gain practical experiences in their classroom setting. It's really a win-win for all of us. That includes early field experiences, observations, clinical student teaching, internships, any things like that. We believe this does help us create a pipeline and give us more opportunities to interview and hire highly qualified teachers who they're familiar with the district, they know our values, they know our expectations. So that's what we're asking for tonight.
Are the terms of this agreement any different than the other MOUs we have with other districts?
It's very similar. This one does not, TWU does not participate in the resident program like UTD and UTD and Texas A&M Commerce, where they do a resident program that we're joint with. This is more clinical practical teaching, where it's observation, student teaching without getting the pay, I should say. It's a difference there. Basically, colleges have to approve for it to be part of that practical program, and TWU is not one of those listed. Other questions?
That was my question.
Was it? Okay.
If there are no other questions, I'd consider a motion.
I move that we approve the MOU with TWU.
Second.
So moved. Is that Marvin? Marvin Bobo, second. Mark Wheelis, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is to consider an act on the superintendent's contract. So, presentation here is that we are going to amend Ms. Cordell's contract with two components. One is this time of year, we always review her contract and her term, and we would like to extend her contract for 1 year so that we, by 1 year, sorry, right words, so that we keep that same term continuing for Ms. Cordell as she works through her contract. The second piece of it is that we had put a provision in the contract for her to be able to get executive coaching. Previously, it was said executive coaching through TASA. We haven't had executive coaching through TASA that was beneficial thus far. So we do have executive coaching through a third party. So we're simply striking the word TASA from the language, and that would be the second amendment. Board, do you have any questions? If not, I would consider actions or comments.
Term now goes through 2030, is that right?
Correct. So my only comments would be, I'm excited to propose the extension. Ms. Cordell's leadership of this district's been amazing and exemplary. We had a look at a strategic plan that was being executed upon tonight that was beautifully pulled together by engaging our community to drive that, all of our stakeholders. We continue to look at our budget, the performance of our students, our academic outcomes for our kids, and the ability to continue to stay focused on keeping the main thing here in Lovejoy. So I'm grateful for your leadership and excited that we're able to consider this amendment tonight for you.
I second those and make a motion if there's no other comments to approve the amendment.
So moved by Mr. Wheelis.
Second.
Second, Jeff Wood. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 21 is to consider an act on the general election contract for election services in the joint election order for May 3rd, 2025. Ms. Taylor?
Yes, good evening, Board. So this evening, it's just a general/joint election contract that we partner with Collin County to help fulfill our election needs. And this would also include the bond election as well. So the trustee, which has 3 places on it, and then the bond. And then that covers all of our election needs as we all partner with them. And so the administration is requesting that the board approve the general/joint election contract.
Looks like the fee, Rodrigo, if I'm recalling properly, is consistent with what it's been in previous years, regardless of the number of propositions on the ballot.
Yes, sir, and that also includes the bond election.
Got it. Questions, comments, motion?
I move that we approve the general election contract for election services as presented.
So moved, Julie McLaughlin. Who was the second? Jason James, second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is cabinet reports.
Wanted to provide some updates from the C&I department. I shared with you back in December that we were initiating an instructional materials review and approval process for a few of our instructional materials, and the committee has completed 2 meetings. We are finishing, we have a 3rd one tomorrow. It's made up of about 35 people with representatives from K-5 teachers, some of our specialized programs, dyslexia, district level staff, our MTSS leads, and our campus principals. We've really kind of shifted our process so that we can engage in a much deeper analysis of current instructional materials and also our some possible new materials moving forward. And as I mentioned in the previous presentation, the process has changed, so we don't go through a regular adoption cycle any longer. But I will say that this has been very intensive for our teachers. Feedback we've gotten, they've had to dig in some areas that maybe we haven't all done as thorough of a job in the past, but I think what's helped us is that we've had a very comprehensive rubric where we've used the rubric that the State Board of Education is using, and we've added to that to align with some of our beliefs and our philosophy here in Lovejoy. So what we've done is that we've analyzed our phonics resources for K-3, our current ones, and any new ones possibly for our K-5 reading language arts, which includes reading instruction and writing instruction, current resources and new ones, and then our K-5 mathematics materials. So as I mentioned, the objective was to conduct a thorough and critical analysis of current and new resources with the intent that we are coming forward with a recommendation. We're going to come forward where we're going to have a parent information meeting coming up so that they can learn more about the materials that are being recommended. We're going to give our teachers a few weeks to try some of this out on our campuses, give more feedback. Any comments that we may receive from the public, we can consider that. We'll come back together, make any revisions to that as a committee, and then bring it forward to the board. But I just really want to thank our teachers and our staff who have engaged in this, being away from their classrooms in preparation for that, but also just the intentionality and professionalism and thoroughness that they've done with this process. It's truly been an honor to serve with them in that. So, also wanted to celebrate Taste of Culture. This was an inaugural event. The planning on this actually started back in June. We had one of our parents, Camille Simpkins, who approached me about this is something she had envisioned and really wanted to see if we could collaborate together as a community, parents, and school system to pull this off, and I think the outcome was even greater than we anticipated. So I know some of you were able to attend. We weren't quite sure with the weather what the attendance was going to be like, being so cold, but it was great. We ran out of food. The presentations by the students were very impressive. We had dance, we had music, We had some of our projects being shown, so I would anticipate this is going to become an annual event here in Lovejoy. So I just want to thank our volunteers. I want to thank Camille and Jill Latoro also, who were really instrumental in spearheading that, and then some of the CNI department members as well. So, thank you.
Quick question regarding the IMRA committee. So how are the new resources that are being evaluated, how many are being evaluated, and how is that list determined?
Well, what we look at, we look at resources, new resources, and make sure that they are aligned with the State Board of Education is also looking at with their rubric. Now, if we did not, the State Board of Education did not have a significant number of publishers that submitted their resources through the process this year. From what we're hearing from publishers, they were going to kind of wait and see how it went. So we are looking at some that the State Board did put out, but we are also looking at others that we had a feeling that they would probably align very closely with what the rubric is outlining.
Roughly how many?
It kind of varies. There wasn't a set number, so I think we're looking at with current and new for math right now we have 3. There are, I think with Arla there are 3, and maybe with phonics there are 4 right now.
I did hear amazing feedback from the Taste of Cultures event too. So.
Great, good. Thank you.
All right, so good evening again. So today for the finance and student nutrition updates, I have the standard kind of updates there with our days cash on hand and then our overall tax collection for the month of January. But I think the important thing here on this slide is to share the Comptroller's Property Tax Assistance Division, the PTAD, released their preliminary school district property value study. So you may recall that the process as is that Cullen County will submit their annual property values around the November timeframe. And then every 2 years, the Comptroller will do its own study of each of the districts and take their study and compare it to the Cullen counties. And if we fall within 5% of their study, then they'll determine that Cullen County's values are considered valid. You may recall 2 years ago, the district's property values were determined to be invalid. So we had to go through the process of having the property value study again last year. And then this year as part of our normal process. The importance of this year being found as valid is that there are no financial consequences for the district. Had it come back invalid, there would have been a financial consequence to the district. So we're happy to report that the PTAD found our local values as valid. So we won't have to go through this for a 4th year. It won't happen again for another 2 years.
So we're out of the window now.
We're out of the window now. So the next time, if it is found invalid again, we'll have another grace period, and we'll go through this process again. So absolutely.
There's also some proposed legislation to widen that band beyond the 5%. So that would be something else to be talking to legislators about, that we would be very much in favor of widening that band. So yeah, it has impacted us and taken up a lot of your time and our time, and so that would be something that we could also have conversations about.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. So then just a quick update. So our collection rates through January is improved from this time last year through the end of January. So we see about 2.7% increase. We still have about 10.8 million remaining in levy collections across both M&O and INS. We'll see a majority of that come in for the month of February and into March. So that kind of just expresses the importance of having such a strong cash balance of the 275 here to get us through the next cycle, which would be cash coming in December. And then a quick just student nutrition update, just showing here, comparing kind of the food cost and the supply cost compared to, like, as a percentage of revenue. So when you talk about the supply costs, those are going to be kind of the plates, the forks, the knives, the napkins, things like that. But you can see just from meal sales and a la carte sales, our revenue is down, from this time last year slightly, and participation is down from this time last year as well. But even considering kind of the low participation and the lower revenue year to date, so this just shows over time, over the past few years, kind of where we've ended, kind of either surplus or deficit. You may recall last year the reason we ended up with the deficit is that the board approved the use of fund balance to replace some much needed kitchen equipment at 3 of our school locations. We still have a pretty healthy fund balance, and we do believe that we're trending towards either being on target or a slight surplus and continuing to build on that fund balance. Some news that we're hearing is that right now the rule is that we can only maintain 90 days of fund balance, and if we exceed that, we have to come up with a spending plan. There is conversations about increasing that from 90 days to 180 days. So we'll be working towards trying to figure out how we can continue to build the fund balance that will hopefully help support indirect costs for the general fund.
I feel like I've talked a lot about teacher residence as a district this year, but wanted to really drill down and introduce you to some of those. Currently, we have, I believe, 7 teacher residents this year, both from UTD and from Texas A&M Commerce. However, we are hiring those residents. Alex Smith, she's at Sloan Creek Intermediate School. She was with us a year. She graduated from UTD in December. She was over at Hart. You might have seen her over there. And now she's in the 5th grade math science GT co-teach classroom. Her numbers were high there, so we were able to hire her mid-year and get her started over there. And I hear she's doing an excellent job. We also started interviewing some of our residents that are graduating in May, and did letters of intent. Basically, we're asking them to come. They've interviewed with us, and we had Lana Lay from Willow Springs Middle School over there, and she is with Ashley Smith teaching math in 7th grade. So she has signed her letter of intent, and Emily Shaw at Willow Springs also is with Miss Jenny Perez in 8th grade teaching science. From what I hear, they've done just an excellent job, and we're super excited to be able to offer them positions, and we continue to, as we grow the program and work with more colleges, hiring those individuals early to get those highly qualified teachers in our classroom. So I'm real excited to go out there and make some offer letters, especially this early. We're like ahead of the game. Questions?
So this is Gary Hightower. Gary doesn't look as happy as I was when we brought Gary on board. But Gary is an asset that we've greatly needed here in the school district by way of an HVAC technician, certified HVAC technician. Gary joins the team. He brings 20 years of experience. The past 5 years, he's served in school districts here in the North Texas area. Gary has already come in day one and started identifying areas that we would typically have to outsource to a third party. And so I don't have the figures in front of me, but in 3 weeks, Gary has saved the district a tremendous amount of money already. So we're very thankful for his expertise. He's really proven to be a great teammate right out of the gate, and is willing to jump in and help out in areas outside of HVAC. Does it with a smile, and so we're very appreciative to have Gary on Team Lovejoy.
Mr. Percival, did you maybe want to mention the number of units we have and where they are in their life cycle?
I would love to take an opportunity to talk about the 707 HVAC units that we have around our school district. many of which, according to industry standard, have already reached the end of their life cycle. Like I've mentioned before in other meetings prior to this one, we continue to Band-Aid, but that does come at a cost. It becomes more and more expensive. It's older technology, they're inefficient. They use an R22 refrigerant that is extremely expensive, and it's hard to find sometimes. And so we're so happy to have Gary.
R22 was taken out of circulation like 3 iterations of HVAC units ago.
Yes, sir.
It's R22?
R22.
And you said 707?
707, and not all of those are on R22, but over half of them are. Yeah. And so we actually had to buy a 30-pound can of that last week, and it's you know, it was over $800 for 30 pounds. And that was the initial quote was for $1,200, and we found a better supplier that gave us a better rate.
That fills up 2 units.
Especially if the large rooftop units, you're right. And so it gets really expensive really fast. So again, Gary comes to us and brings some expertise that we really need to continue to move the ball forward there with our aging systems. I wanted to highlight transportation. Transportation, the spring, fall's busy. The first month of school can be really crazy and hectic, trying to level out routes, learn new kiddos, new stops. But the spring brings its own challenges, and so our transportation department has been extremely busy. We had demo day not long ago with 5th grade, and that was coordinated with Dr. Zambezi and his team. Same thing with bump up day. If you can imagine taking all of the 4th, 6th, and 8th graders all simultaneous and moving them to different campuses all at one time, and then moving them all back to their original campus, and by the way, it's during the middle portion of the day where our drivers that work a split shift are off. And so really trying to coordinate and entice those drivers to partake in that bump up day is a challenge. But one that our transportation staff met and did a great job, and it was a successful day for lots of kiddos here in the district. And then, of course, we have fine arts, athletics, and lots of field trip opportunities throughout the spring that have already kicked off that they continue to work for. The last thing I'll say, and it's not in this slide, when we finished the slides and the presentations for tonight, we hadn't endured the record-breaking temperatures that we had on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, especially in the mornings. But if you were out and about and you went by any of our campuses, you saw our administrators, our staff out there in the cold, enduring it all to make sure they were taking care of our kiddos, welcoming them off the bus, opening car doors. It didn't slow them down one bit. And so I'm thankful for those that got out there and did whatever it took to take care of our kiddos and make it feel like a normal day for them. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good evening. Student Services Cabinet Report tonight has 2 main slides, the first of which is athletics updates and accomplishments. Full of really good news. Recently we had the LHS State Wrestling meet in Cypress, Texas, at a really nice facility, and we're able to come away with 2 second-place finishes and a 5th-place finish. Eli Silva 2nd, Aaron Garza 2nd, Brock McKnight 5th. Really, really proud of them and the work that they put into this year. Another group we're really proud of, Joey Miller, 1st year, girls basketball head coach. Extremely proud of him and the team. The first district championship since 2011, girls basketball, absolutely phenomenal. Won their first playoff game and then lost a really, really close 2nd round game with Frisco Memorial, who recently, I believe, just won another game and is still playing right now. And so really, really proud of their accomplishments and looking forward to seeing what they're going to do in year 2 under Coach Miller's leadership. LHS Swim and Dive. Wanted to provide a state meet update. This just happened last weekend. 14 state qualifiers, all 5 relays that qualified for state, powered their way into the finals and scored a lot of major points for the team. Ava Easley advanced to finals in both the 100 backstroke and 100 freestyle, and she finished with a 4th place finish. Kennedy Hummel made it to the finals and placed 15th overall as a freshman in diving, and a highlight of the meet, Maria Fierro dominated the competition and won her 3rd state championship for her career. So really, really impressive and proud of LHS Swim and Dive. Women's team 16th overall in the state and men's team 26th overall in the state.
I'll just make another note about Maria, state champion in diving, was also a member of our bond planning committee and is also, I believe, student council president at the high school. So she is quite a leader.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then lastly, down there at the bottom, Coach Wes Watson, our campus athletic coordinator at the high school and head boys basketball coach. He came from an outside district. This year's first year in Lovejoy district champions. So boys and girls both district champions, and fought really, really hard in the playoffs. Didn't go the way we wanted, but really cool to say that both basketball teams secured the district championship this year. And then some more first-time ever accomplishments. The way that our fine arts specialist and Majestics leader, Jacqueline Simone, told me was state in the Majestics and dance world is kind of a new thing, but going back to somewhere around 2017, that's the last time our officers qualified for nationals. And so you have that gap over 6-7 years, and state, our Majestics, our captain right there with Robin, and our officers actually qualified for state for the first time. And so they will compete in state on March 1st in Burleson, and we're really, really excited. And then the Majestics program in general, there were some meets where they swept first place finishes in all of the events. And so we've been really excited to see their accomplishments, and now it kind of capped it off with the officers being able to go to state and make some new ground for our program. Additionally, in fine arts, all-state band, these students recently went down to TMEA in San Antonio, and the order they're in right there with Caleb, this is his first time to be all-state. Megan Lyons, she was all-state, it's her 2nd time to be all-state, and Max Ratliff, one of our percussionists, this is his 3rd time to be all-state, and so they represented us very well in front of the state. And so that's the fine arts and athletics updates from recently.
Very impressive. All right, next up, Ms. Cordell.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it up with the student celebrations because they are absolutely crushing it. Want to extend our congratulations to our 12 National Merit Scholar finalists. They are one of 16,000 out of 1.3 million. So very, very impressive academic accomplishment. Absolutely remarkable. Also wanted to mention McKenna Ford, who is an alumni, class of 2024. She's one of 50 out of 80,000 to be selected to have an exhibit in the AP Art Design Digital Exhibit. And that exhibit went live recently, and we have a link out on social media and in Connect with Katie. It is worthwhile to check out. So cool, because I got to see all of that in person when she was displaying her art at our AP art show. Just remarkable. And wanted to extend deep thanks and gratitude to all of the families that participated in Taste of Cultures. It was a very special event that had a great deal of connection and community and such wonderful food. Many of our families hosted a table, and the way that they hosted that table, the hospitality, the food was prepared with just such love and joy, and it was such a pleasure to get to know our families better and get to know our students better. And I got some recipes, and very sadly, I was talking with my hands while I had a very full plate, lost some food on the floor. But it was an incredible, incredible event. I got more. I went back. I didn't spill on myself this time. It ended up, I got thanked for cleaning up, though. Several people said, "Oh, it's so nice of you to be cleaning up the floor." They didn't realize I was the one that had actually made the mess, and so I should be cleaning it up. But a really gratitude to the organizers, the volunteers, and all of the staff that put so much into supporting that incredible inaugural event. And then last week, we also had Diverse Abilities Day at Puster Elementary and Hart Elementary. I got to go visit over at Puster and see it in action. Again, so many parent volunteers working in collaboration with our incredible educators to provide our students a really special, important experience centered on inclusivity and kindness. And it was remarkable and typical with our educators and our parents. Everyone was like taking notes on, okay, we can make this even better by doing this next year. And so just to see the excitement about how well both Taste of Cultures went and Diverse Abilities Day went, and to see the excitement about bringing those things back and even improving on what's been done is really invigorating. And I have so much gratitude to all the people who've been involved.
Thank you for that update. And I heard that I missed Henri's jambalaya, so I hate that.
Oh, it was good. I did have that. I sampled a lot.
No other announcements tonight, we would be adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry, wait up.
No
We're
public
not
comments
adjourned, we're
this
not
evening.
adjourned, we're not adjourned. That was just a joke, just a joke. Don't get excited out there. Item 24 tonight, public comments related to non-agenda items.
No, sir.
Now we're adjourned.